Alright, hello again. So, it's been a bit since I've done the last devlog on this. I just wanted to do a bit of a catch up because I made some significant progress. At least I think I have anyway. And there's just a few, and I just wanted to go over some things. And so, what I've been doing is making some really nice basic assets, just that are unique to me for now. They're just something I knock up rapidly in Cubicle, which is a really nice little 3D model editor. Just fire it up in the background because it'd be nice just to give a quick show of that. But well, here it is. So for instance, go to my axe, and it's like basically like building 3D models in Minecraft. Essentially, you come in here, you select a color and you stick it on, attach them, do whatever, change colors, change shape. And you can make things as large or small as you want to, and then you just export it as FBX, drag it into the Unreal Engine, and lo and behold, you end up with this. Yeah, so there's that X right there. It looks fine. I mean, it's best I can do, because obviously I'm going to need assets for a lot of things in this game to make it feel more like a game rather than a test building, which is kind of getting on my nerves for the most part, because it would be nice to have proper unique assets that represent individual things. I made a nice little bunker as well. I need to work on scaling of things and proportions of stuff and all that, but for the most part things are looking quite nice now. Got a nice little lunchbox, medical case, sort of a military box. And the advantage of this is I can obviously I can come back to them at any given time and replace them with another asset, and it won't affect the game at all, really, because for now I'm not making use of the structure of the assets or anything. They're just existing, basically. They don't even attach to the characters properly anymore, but well, they attach to them, but they go in weird positions and stuff. But it uses the right one. You know, if you equip an axe, there's an axe there. If you equip a dagger, there's a dagger, and SMG, etc. And that's what makes the game feel a bit more like it's my own game, I suppose. But so obviously, since I've been doing this, there's a couple more assets. These are meant to represent different types of loot boxes that will spawn in missions. But I've been working on the missions for now, so I probably want to make a debug thing for this at some point. That's the grid. This is a mission. I also need to change the icons that represent them. But for now, the plan is these missions select an area. So if I hit that, so you can see this blue box is surrounding essentially the central point where that mission was. I'm wondering if I can select it from here. Oh, I need to add those to a folder again. Sorry if my mic is going all over the shop. Is it not there? Can't imagine it would be up here for some reason. Hang on. There it is. Oh, it's in a folder. That would be why. Alright, there we go. So there's a mission. It spawned medical things, and got this nice little items type list. And essentially the aim of this is currently there's a class called Mission Manager, which I made not a few hours ago. And the idea is, currently I've just got medical in here for reasons I'll go into in a sec. But essentially the game starts and there are POIs and points of interest on the map, and a certain amount of them, currently there's only one, but later on a reasonable amount of them will have missions spawn in them. And this mission manager is what's going to do all of the logic for which types of missions to spawn. It will be entirely random. So you might get, as you can see, there's civilian, medical, military, and secret missions. And the idea is, if there's a military mission, the AI in the area will be more heavily equipped with higher tier of weaponry. And then the loot that spawns in that area will also be changed. So I haven't put it in yet, but the system's all set up so that these individual, these are currently loot boxes, as you can see in the top here. They're all taking, they're all instances of my loot box here. And basically the mission will drive the kind of loot boxes that spawn, and therefore the kind of loot that's available when you complete the mission. However, if there isn't a mission in the area, it will spawn loot applicable to the POI. So as an example, if a military mission spawns in a hospital, then all the typical medical crates and things will all be changed to be military stuff mostly. Whereas if there wasn't a military mission spawning there, it would just be a lot of medical cases and probably food and drink and stuff for the most part, because as you would imagine, they'd be unlikely to have many military boxes. There might be like one on the in the security room or something like that. But that's the intended purpose of the mission, essentially. So, when I'm doing some level design, I'll come in, I'll make a small village, I'll make a small city block, an actual like military bunker or camp, like I said, like a hospital or something. And then the missions spawn, they set up the loot boxes to have the relevant loot, if based on the mission that spawns there, and if there isn't one, it spawns the loot that you would find applicable in the area. So that means when you're looking around the mini-map, you'll come across like a military mission that spawned in a small town, and suddenly the intention will be that the village will gain like what would I call it, like fortifications and stuff. So the buildings will change to suit the nature of the mission. So rather than there just being a big open road with maybe some derelict cars or something, they'll be replaced with like barriers and barbed wire and stuff along the roads, and maybe one of the houses will have been repurposed to form a small temporary military base of operations or something. And then the same goes for like if a civilian mission were to spawn in a military base, it could be that they've I don't know, it'd be like a group of farmers and local police or something that have taken over the village and have fortified it in some manners, but obviously not quite as much as a military one, and then so on and so on. And the idea will be I can have a lot of fun with it. I can now that I can define an area and say that this area is this kind of place, and then have the area also being this kind of mission, all I'd have to do is set up data to spawn the right kinds of boxes, the right kinds of buildings, or at least make alterations to the existing buildings. And that's my plan going forward with this. But for now, if I spawn in and hopefully don't get shot to bits instantly, Oh, I'm dead. I am dead already. Give me 1 second. It's very challenging because I basically get spawn killed. Yep, there we go. I'm dead. I'm going to die again, aren't I? I keep getting stuck on this particular box. In fact, let me get rid of it because it serves literally no purpose whatsoever. Okay, I can actually beat them once there we go. And then I'll talk about my UI changes because, yeah, oh, okay, I think the other one's spawned behind there, so, previously the, health, water, and food and rest and stuff down here used to be generated in C++. I changed it to be the, regular old new user widget because it's just so much better and easier to work with than trying to stupidly do it by displaying text and bars. I still got the code for it because it's quite useful potentially for other things, but for now it will just be using generic user widget. And you can see I've put a red dot where the center of my screen is, and the bullets do go towards it. I think maybe the static mesh isn't centered properly on them or something, but you can see that the projectiles go where you're looking. And there's definitely some, I wouldn't call it lag, but I think that's how it's supposed to be when you have actual realistic like travel time and stuff, because they're not instant by any means. So I've done that just so I can, mostly as a proof of concept, just to make sure that the bullets are actually going to travel to where the player's looking. Eventually there will obviously be a weapon in hand and scopes and things. And just another little thing, if I say equip SMG, you can see a crappily positioned SMG has just been attached to my character's right hand. So, you can see it's working, right? It's moving around as his arm's moving. I just need to adjust where it spawns and then obviously do the whole animation side of things, which would be good fun. Obviously, I could go online and buy any manner of pre-made animation kits and stuff, but I'd much rather do this all myself, at least to start with from scratch, just to get a better understanding of it. And you can also see in the bottom right hand corner is this boxes nearby, which represents the loot containers. Again, just more as a debugging type thing, just so I know that they're there. It does seem to be that I killed all the AI in the mission. I don't know why. Typically it spawns 2, maybe it couldn't find a point. But as you can see, just as before, the containers come in and out. I've improved what the UI looks like in general. Everything seems a lot clearer and stuff. And you can now, for instance, if I right click on this, it's a bit hard to see, but you can see my health went up when I did that. I can drink from this drink and refill that, and eat the sandwich and refill my food. And like with all of these things, I can add on stack things in various places, and I can drag this wood in here, put 10 in there, stacks to 25. Obviously it makes a stack of 20 and 5, and I can swap my SMG out for an AK so it slows fires slower, obviously. Then if I equip the SMG, you can see it's definitely changing the weapon there. I can equip an axe, so this is like primary, secondary, sidearm kind of thing. There you go, look at that, got an axe. Obviously there's no animation again, but it does actually function. Axes are currently a one-hit kill, because in my opinion, melee weapons in all games of this nature should be near instant death. simply because it's such a challenge to get close enough to people to use them effectively. If you're brave enough to get up close and personal, or the person's chasing you into a room, I feel like it should be their loss if you just happen to have an axe on you. So same for a knife. The knife is a 2-hit kill, the axe is a 1-hit kill. I just think it makes more sense to do it like that. And yeah, so I've done some balancing of items and stuff. I put in better stats for the guns. I made the velocity of projectiles pretty quick. I also changed the projectiles to use line traces. Somebody suggested, rather than using on overlap, which I was using here, that you literally just spam line trace single by channel on tick. And apparently this is vastly superior to overlap and regular collisions, because it uses a lot less processing power. And one of the drawbacks to overlap and regular collision is that the bullets were, when I didn't have this system set up, you could shoot bullets through buildings, because the update rate for overlap and collide, the base collision and stuff, was causing them to just phase through them. They would move faster than the update rate of the object, basically. Which, as you can imagine, in the shooter isn't very good when you can shoot people through walls. So that was a fun thing to fix, and it works a lot faster now. So I've got all of this basically up and running. My next plan is to make these cases change what they look like based on the mission, which will be pretty trivial. That will just be a case of when the mission spawns, rather than just saying spawn loot on the loot boxes, as it does in here. That's mission. Yeah, that's mission. Yeah. It's set up loot boxes. So this gets all of the loot boxes in the area. And it sets the types of items that can spawn in the loot, and then it spawns the loot. So in here, I would pass in like a structure that has like the mesh that the loot box should have, and then set up the loot types based on the type of loot box it is, basically. So there will be another data table, likely in my massive existing data tables, and they'll get all their information. There's quite a lot of data tables now, but I've reorganized them so they're a bit more easy to follow. I think one of the most important things I managed to get working is saving the data stored in all of these tables into the CSV. So, for example, this is the only one I've done it with so far, but I've got this get data strings, and this loops through all of my structs, which are current, F instance item data, gets their data, adds it to a single line string, and then returns that. And obviously it iterates over, so each string here represents a row of data. And if I close that, I go into my tables, and you can see this gets written out. So now I have a proof of concept for saving data. And because data will be saved and loaded within the same class, I can ensure data integrity, because I know if I do this correctly once, it will work every single time from then on. And so I can now, obviously I can use this system for storing the player's inventory to file, containers created by the players, so like their storage chests and things. And then I can use it to store the player's last login location and all that kind of stuff, all the usual multiplayer shenanigans. And it will be easy, really, really easy. This is read in the same way here as it is saved here. It matches line by line identically. And obviously it's just basically a couple lines of code, and the actual saving it to the CSV is actually a couple lines of code. So that this is reading the data, which is obviously slightly more complicated, and this is saving the data. So we get the table, which is our instance item data table for now. We get the file path, which is obviously this thing here, and then we generate our row of strings, and we just run save string array to file, and this overrides the file, so it essentially creates a new one, which is basically all we want it to do, because the server will always have the correct data. And that's it. Just these two. I mean, this could even be one line of code if I do that. There we go, one line of code, and we can save data from any of our tables. All I need to do is implement this method and the tables I want to save the data in, and that's it. It's yeah, simple as that basically. So I think I've made quite a significant amount of progress with this now. I'm going to spend many happy hours making very low poly, quite nice looking, I think, assets in here. For you, more weapons. Actually going to start making little buildings and interior things, just like generic tables and chairs and wardrobes and cupboards and things, stuff that's just typically going to, you can imagine that's going to take me about a couple minutes to put together something like a cupboard. It's just a big box with a flappy bit that moves around, for the door, a handle. And then once I've got things like that, all the right scale and stuff, I could potentially start on randomly generating actual buildings. So like I generate the floor for the areas, I'm going to make it so I start generating buildings using the same grid. So all buildings in my game will be locked to the same grid, so the players and the games will all be generated using the same grid coordinates, which if I just fire it up, I'll just show quickly again. But the idea being that firstly, the players' bases will look identical or be capable of looking exactly the same as the in-game ones. So that's something that's always bugged me, particularly in like DayZ and Deadside, where you have players making like little wooden shacks, and then the quality of the like materials and stuff look appalling compared to the rest of the game, and so it feels very alien, like you're not playing the same game as the things that the world that you live in. Did I mean to start? I did, yeah, sorry, right. So you can see each one of these is a nice little grid section. I just guessed an approximate size, but I don't know if you guys agree, but this size looks approximately relative to the scale of the characters here, which I think I can steal this guy, drag him down. Ain't that insane? The fact that I can do that, it's just anything. Anyway, whatever. So you can see this is probably adequate for a single room. And then all I would need to do is make my own model that represents one represents the floor, and then another for a blank wall, another one for a wall with a window, another one for a wall with a door, and so on and so forth. And then eventually, all I have to do, that's probably because the character just got wiped. All I would have to do then is make it so I can just generate buildings. I'll have a data structure where it represents building parts and then instances of those building parts, and then you just set a location, set a rotation, and then set a type or an ID probably, and then the ID will relate to the kind of wall or floor or ceiling or roof, all that kind of stuff. And then when it works for the actual game's generation, so I hit a button somewhere and it generates a random 3D model of a building, then obviously the players can make use of the same system. And so rather than the game generating it, it's simply the player placing it. Because if I get the game working with it, then obviously the player can work with it as well. And then go from there. Basically, I'm close to starting to work on the building system, because I'm actually running out of the rest of it to make work, which is great because that's kind of the point, is to get closer and closer to the final product. So yeah, that's what I've been doing and thinking about and stuff. And I've been going through, I've got a lovely little Trello that I've been working on. These are all the stuff that I've done recently, things I need to do, to consider. And yeah, so I'll just be going through it all. Every time I come up with something I need to do, add it here, shove it into the next column, blah blah blah. So yeah, that's the plan. That's where I am, and hopefully sometime soon the weapons will go in the right place, and maybe I'll have a animation for the weapons, at least so they hold them rather than just have them exist in 3D space, and generate the right kind of loot and stuff. So yeah, I think that's all from me now. So hopefully I'll have some more in a week or two. See how long it takes me to make more progress. Still get stuck on some bugs for days on end. There's a few things which I still haven't fixed, which are just in their own separate branches, which I need to figure out. So, but yeah, hopefully this is vaguely interesting for people, and I will also hopefully be able to have a functional game at some point soon. So yeah, thanks for listening if you were, and I'll see you guys around.